A recent Fox News poll shows that among white voters with no college degree, she trails the president 51-36. Let's look at her 2018 Senate results in her home state of Massachusetts. Overall, Warren won a healthy 60.4% of the vote, while her Republican opponent, Jeff Deal, took 36.2%. But drilling down on where each of them won, we find more of a cultural divide. On the one hand, in the wealthy Boston suburb of Lexington, median home value $1.15 million, she wins 74% of the vote. And in neighboring Newton, where the median home value is $1.2 million, she receives similarly 75% of the vote. But in Rockland, a predominantly white working-class suburb on the south side of Boston, where the median home value is $340,000, Warren only gets 44%. In Saugus, on the North Shore, median home value $445,000. She gets 43%. Joining me now is Paul Starobin, author and journalist who wrote this piece in the New York Times, Does Elizabeth Warren Have a Critical Vulnerability? Hey, Paul, I want to mention from the get-go, you have voted for her twice, and you look forward, you hope, to voting for her for president, lest anybody should think this is a hit job, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So lay out your analysis of this issue.
Well, I call it the Warren paradox. She is all about, the rich are getting richer, the rest of us are getting shafted, very much the working class. And yet, as you point out, in Massachusetts, in her 2018 Senate race, we see the wealthy towns, kind of liberal, highly educated people, places like Lexington, Newton, and Wellesley. She's getting 70+%. Places like Rockland, the South Shore, working class, white, she's not doing nearly that well. And I visited Rockland, and the question is why? I mean, what gives with their lack of enthusiasm for Warren? And it should be noted that her opponent in 2018 in that Senate race was a pro-Trump Republican, not just a Republican, but pro-Trump.
So what are you hearing anecdotally behind the numbers that I've already shown?
A kind of a sense that they think she doesn't have their back and that they distrust her. They think she's a little bit of a phony, some of the people I talked to. This whole issue of, she identified as a Native American. They would say that's kind of a way to game the system. She has her job now at Harvard. There's really not evidence that she gamed the system, but she did have that identification, so they're suspicious. They think they're going to tax her. She's just another liberal who's going to tax us, even though, like, her wealth tax is for people, households 50 million and up. It's not going to really affect them. Open borders, she's for decriminalizing unauthorized border crossings, and for them, that's basically open borders. And I think that, that issue in particular, I think touches a real nerve among the white working class in places like Massachusetts.
I paid attention to the comments that came into your Times essay, and there was this from William in Minnesota. He said, Warren has been fine-tuning her message and appeal for months. It's part of her makeup to persist in learning and adjusting. I can picture her reading this article, processing its message, and using it to improve her campaign. How could she?
I agree. It's a good comment. I read it as well. She has, it's I have a plan, Elizabeth Warren, so many plans. I think she might need to focus a little bit more. For example, she has a plan to go from $200 million in spending on the job apprenticeship programs and multiplying that by tenfold to get it up to $20 billion. So something like that, I think, would be of interest to people. I mean, in Rockland, you're talking about, tradespeople, welders, people like that, nurses. I mean, they want to see what she can do for them, and I think she probably just has to tailor her message a little bit more there. And I think she can do it as well. I mean, she is a fighter, and she's shown, and just in this campaign, that she's able to evolve.
And another great friend of mine, somebody that was on CNN, and they didn't like him because he was too positive on Trump. Can you believe it? He happens to be Hispanic. He happens to be Hispanic, but I've never quite figured it out because he looks more like a wasp than I do. So I haven't figured that one out. But I'll tell you what, there is nobody that loves this country more or Hispanic more than Steve Cortez. Steve. Thank you, Steve. Nobody loves the Hispanics more. What do you like more, the country or the Hispanics? He says the country. I don't know. I may have to go for the Hispanics, to be honest with you. We got a lot of Hispanics. We love our Hispanics. Get out and vote.